Hi, I'm Mike Miller. Hope you're having a great day. Thanks for watching. My guest today has made a contribution to the Denton Film Society by being active board member of the Thin Line Fest, and also has had a quite active acting career in television over the last few years. Paul, I appreciate you being here.
Oh, my pleasure. Okay, now I have infected you. Make sure you wash your hands later. I'm here with a little bit of a cold, but I'm going to bear up.
I should be okay.
Okay. That'd be bad if we eliminate the host each time you do an interview, so be good about that.
But I've been kind of observing you over the last few years as I volunteered at the Thin Line. I noticed your involvement there, and it's really an interesting fest. I think it just brings so much culture to the city, and you've, I guess, worked with and talked to a lot of the producers and film writers, and you help organize the event.
Yeah, I mean, I like you, just like seeing interesting things happen in Denton. To be perfectly honest, my involvement there started with an observation that many people make when they come to Denton, which is, wow, it's so great. There's a fine arts theater right in the center of town, until you go through the disappointment of realizing it isn't a theater yet, anyway. And I guess it's inching closer. But yeah, I originally became involved with Thin Line just looking for allies behind the idea of revitalizing that. And it was kind of, hey, I like your project too. I'll work on your stuff, and we'll all work toward that. And I don't know. Now it's several years later, and I've been working on Thin Line for all that time. But it's
you're a vice president.
Yeah, which mostly means just do more of the volunteer jobs.
Yeah.
So
there's so many different things to do. Even putting that screen up was interesting.
Absolutely, yeah. As you've experienced, it always sounds so easy to put on a film festival, like just show some movies.
Yeah.
But yeah, literally putting up a screen, hauling equipment, selling all the advertising, and then other people put together the program. Just simply watching the films. Some years I've helped evaluate the films.
That goes on all year, I guess.
Well, about half a year. Starts generally in the summer, like June, which is sort of sounds like a fun duty until you consider that there are many not very good films that get submitted too, and somebody's got to watch them all. So a lot of care and discernment goes into putting together really the kind of crystalline core of the best. And then there's just getting all the volunteers signed up to do tasks and feeling appreciated and motivated and all that. There's loads to do.
And then it's spread out all over town, more or less. Various venues are participating, and now it's bands and photography.
Yeah, it's changed, over time. The 35 Fest went 1 year without being, and Thin Line kind of stepped into the void and added a music component. And we always are looking for ways to give filmmakers and people who come to the festival something to do in Denton, when they're not watching films. And Denton itself is interesting, but if they have activities, that's good. So yeah, music was a way to give them, something to do and give the town a music festival when there wasn't one.
A lot of bands had an opportunity to play, and that was really exciting for a lot of bands.
Absolutely. I mean, it's all about ultimately bringing artists and audience together. And it helped bring a lot of great new people into the board and the volunteer side of Thin Line too. People
Sure.
who, they just like having fun cultural things happen in Denton. And then this year was photography. Photography was the new thing. And we added, I think it was, well, I might get the number wrong, but something like 6 or 7 venues with,
photography exhibits.
Yeah, but I'm looking for the word curated. Curated. Ed Steele.
Ed Steele and his wife.
They reviewed all the submissions, and you weren't automatically selected. I mean, you had to make some judgments, and it was another way to get people walking around Denton and staying engaged with another really documentary art form.
That's for sure, and they did a great job. Ed Steele did a great job. Yeah,
he's a cool cat.
There was some great photography just around to walk around and view, and encourage folks to go check out some new venues and things like that.
Absolutely. So it just keeps adding dimensions to Thin Line. Still haven't seen, the Fine Arts Theater we did some years managed to have as a venue. So,
I remember
in terms
that,
of my
yeah.
original
Yeah,
ambition.
really.
And one year we did a fall series where once a month during the fall we had a showing there, because ultimately I would like there to be kind of art cinema, if you will, or good quality movies that are
Sure.
other than commercial mainstream in downtown. I think it's the missing piece
I
to
agree.
bring downtown to life.
Yeah, I think so many people could enjoy something like that.
Yeah, and if it's a venue that I understand the current owner has in mind to do, if it's a venue for film as well as live performance, it's just, it makes downtown a destination. Then it'll be good for the restaurants and
Oh, yeah.
everything else around it.
Yeah, it's a great building.
And the shops and yeah.
Yeah,
And half the time, when somebody wants to show an image of Denton and kind of convey its character, they'll show a picture of the Fine Arts Theater.
Yeah.
Because it says Fine Arts. I wish it were, the same on the inside as on the outside.
yeah, yeah. I agree with you on that for sure.
Well, hopefully we'll live long enough to see it.
It could create so many great opportunities for so many people.
Yeah.
If that were available, that's right, yeah. But I'm fascinated with your own television career, and you've been doing some national commercials, things like that. You accomplished all this after a successful career in telecommunications.
You have done your research. Oh my goodness. Well, yeah, it was one of those road not taken kind of things.
Yeah,
I studied theater in college.
Yeah.
And the kind of watchword in those days was, if there's anything else you'd like to do, do it, because it's a intrinsically, very difficult career path, and it's hardly even correct to call it a career path. Something like Major League Baseball or whatever, very few people can actually really make a living at it. So yeah, I did other stuff, studied on the side.
You studied in New York.
Studied when I was working in New York. I've been going off and on to HB Studio for
HB.
close to 20 years.
That's a famous place, isn't it?
It is increasingly well known, and a lot of good people have come out of there. And their mission has always been to be very accessible to, poor starving actors.
Really? That's good to know.
Prices are going up, but they're still better than others, and they're very kind of pure about an approach to the work that it's one of those descendants of the method, if you will, but it comes from Uta Hagen. Many people read Uta Hagen's book, and the teachers there studied with her. I studied with people who studied with Uta Hagen, and they tell me what the stories about what she would have said and famous things that happened in her class, and we'd use her exercises. But ultimately, it's about using yourself in imaginative circumstances, but with the greatest feeling of truth and belief in those circumstances that you can have, so that you can be free to really, react truthfully in whatever circumstance it is. Now, as highfalutin as that all sounds, I swear to you, I use the same approach for a TV commercial or some goofy TV show where they're not even recording my audio. It's just it was what I really wanted to learn how to do. I knew how to do sort of artful line readings, in high school plays.
Yeah.
But I wanted to learn how to do what they do, even on not that great TV shows where you believe those people are the people in those stories. I wanted to know how to do that, and I feel like I've gotten closer and closer. So yeah, as far as getting into actually doing it, the transition was I was working for a cable company. It was at the time the number 9, and we were aiming to be sold, and we were ultimately sold to the number 2. But the president was, as usual, unhappy with the ad agency, and he said in a kind of a steering committee meeting, "I think Paul should do our commercials." I never told anybody that I had any interest in acting. I said, "I like the way he talks about our products." And I kind of looked both ways, and I just said, "Well, I'm willing to give it a try."
That's great.
Secretly, yay. And so yeah, I was cast as the spokesman for the company was called Inside Communications, and
That's excellent.
yeah, I got to do 10 spots with the full, West Coast ad agency and
Really?
the makeup people and the wardrobe and all that glamorous, goofy stuff. It was totally fun. I totally loved it, and the director, the producer, the wardrobe person, everybody individually over the course of it said, you actually can do this. Like if you wanted to get work, you could get work. And I was like, oh, really? That's very nice. Well, long story short, those spots became the core of my reel. And when the company did eventually get sold, it's like, why don't I? I got a reel, with real TV commercials on it.
Yeah.
I have training. I have time. I'm gonna bloody well do it.
So you started going to New York?
We spend part of the year in New York every year anyway. We're from there. My wife teaches at UNT, and when she's off duty, we go back to our home there.
Yeah.
So I had a base in New York.
Yeah.
I had a reel, et cetera, et cetera. Long story short, yeah, I ended up finding this great niche, which is having a full head of gray hair. That turns out to be my singular talent. Most history shows, most detective shows, they always need some guy with gray hair. So I'm either, a doctor or a businessman. You referenced a TV commercial. That was probably my, most frequently aired job. That was for a company called BDO, and the name of my character was Worried CEO.
Really?
Yeah. So I had those traits to look like a worried CEO. I'm walking through a train station. We're under investigation, talking to the lawyer.
Yeah.
And she's going to solve our problems with BDO. And that's, that was that. Funny story about that. Just kind of like the real life of life on the Z list. It looks like a nice simple shot. We're walking through a train station, talking. Well, for commercials, everything's got to be exactly right. They're going to air it a million times. So they did hundreds of takes.
Really?
Every possible angle, up here, close, far, just every possible variations they could do in all editing. Which means we were walking for 12 hours in dress shoes. So, we were just like on bloody stumps by the end.
Yeah.
And my...
That is hard work.
Yes, you don't think of it. It's just walking and talking, but it's walking for 12 hours. So by the end, my far more experienced co-star there looks up at the camera, which is now like three stories up, looking down at the whole scene of the train station as they asked for like one more take, at like 11 hours and 45 minutes. And she just said, like, through the mic, really? Really? You don't have it yet? Like, snap. So that's, we got it all under control. And the commercial's still airing. But yeah, I did that. And the thing I've done the most of is this Mysteries at the Museum.
Mysteries at the Museum.
Yeah, which is also the exact same show is sometimes called Monumental Mysteries.
Monumental Mysteries,
Yeah. If it's, they tell stories behind either objects in a museum, Mysteries at the Museum, or objects behind some public monument.
Oh, really?
Monumental Mysteries. It's history trivia.
And that's the Travel Channel?
They're on the Travel Channel.
Travel Channel.
And actually, they rerun them all the time. So if you go to my IMDb page, they list, when episodes I'm in are coming up.
Okay.
But I've gotten to be George Washington.
Really?
Frank Lloyd Wright.
Frank Lloyd Wright, yeah.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I was the president of the Underground Railroad. I was the scientist who invented the bat bomb. These are all very interesting.
A 1940s policeman.
Yes, oh yes, you and your homework, yes, a 1940s policeman. There's a bunch of episodes that haven't come up. I've done over 24 episodes.
Really?
For that show.
And most of them were filmed in the New York area?
Yeah, they find historic looking settings.
Yeah.
And
None were filmed in the Denton area, though, really.
No, it's
None
all
of
based
those.
around New York.
New York, yeah.
Yeah, almost all my TV stuff is generally done when I'm in New York. In Texas, I find I get less work here because for my age and look, they tend to want like ranchers and cowboys and
Yeah.
and bad guys and things I don't sort of look like that much.
Yeah.
But I've done some independent film stuff here. I played a Latin American caterer of questionable orientation.
That was in 2014.
Probably when it finished. I mean, everything has been from 2012 till now.
Yeah.
So it's all recent. I did a documentary type, not a documentary, kind of an instructional film that was almost like full-length film for UT, for the UT Business School, where I was again portrayed as a South American businessman or some kind of Latin,
Yeah.
Because apparently if you look even like 1 degree off, the kind of TV good looks norm, you're exotic. So I guess I could be South American. Oh gosh, this and that here and there, or a guy who runs a music school. But it's, basically, I'll put it this way. When I go on set, they usually tell you what clothes to bring. And whatever they tell me, I always bring a blue blazer. Because sooner or later, they ask me to put one on. And they act surprised if I don't have one.
Yeah.
Because that's apparently my type.
Yeah.
I'm the guy who must have a blazer.
Yeah. So you just have to hold that with you throughout these long sessions sometimes,
Well,
or just set it aside or something.
Yeah, they have a pipe rack somewhere.
Yeah,
but you bring your white shirt, your dress shoes, and I know they're going to want to put me in a blazer sooner or later. I tell them sometimes, you don't even know you want it yet. You eventually will want me to put this blazer on.
Yeah. Well, like method acting, though, is that just a very broad category? There's subdivisions of method acting?
It's a widely misunderstood term.
Yeah.
Mostly used incorrectly, not only by the public in general, but even by actors. People say, oh, method. They think it means something like, I think the popular culture thing is something like you become the character.
Yeah.
And it's really exactly the opposite.
Really?
It's really you bringing yourself into the circumstance of the character.
Yeah.
And the contrast would be versus, say, the way English actors are trained. English actors are trained on voice and movement and kind of characterization from the point of view of externals, or adding a limp, or they kind of craft a very finely worked out exterior.
Yeah.
Be the emphasis.
Yeah, your posture, body language.
Yeah, and in a sense that's more like, I don't know, becoming the character, I guess. But the emphasis in kind of New York schools is more toward orienting your insides so that you are really trying to do something yourself against obstacles that you understand very specifically, and it brings your emotions to bear. And the premise behind that is that you want the audience to feel something, right? And the audience operates through empathy, and I don't know what the science is behind empathy, but I think everybody thinks it's a real thing. But for audience members to have empathy, you got to have some empathy. If you don't feel anything, they're not going to feel anything. So I love watching English actors and I admire them, but sometimes I'm left a little cold. Like, it doesn't really move me. Whereas the world over loves to watch American movie stars, because they seem to really be feeling something, and we feel with them. So that's kind of the idea. Is you really want to believe in your circumstances. Use your own experiences if necessary. If you can't buy the imaginary circumstances, that's what you really try to do. If you can't, bring something similar from your own experience, and live in that moment. I'll give you an example of how that comes into play. When you learn about it in school, the thought is there's lots of preparation and study and writing out backstory and all this. Well, in Z-list TV work, like I do, where my name's not in the credits and they often don't use the audio, work is done very quickly and efficiently, and it is assumed that you as an actor can come to the situation, understand what's needed, and do whatever you have to do, get there. So when I work on the mysteries show, we'll usually shoot 3 episodes in a day. I will only know in advance one of the characters, the major role I'll have.
Really?
Say Washington.
Yeah.
So I can really research.
Yeah.
When I did play Washington, I read a 1,000-page biography of him to really understand how he thinks.
Did you?
And so on. But I'm also going to get thrown into 2 other episodes of which I know nothing. You find out when they call you over, Meltzer wardrobe. You show up and you're like, "What are you dressing me as?" So.
And they might just tell you Frank Lloyd Wright.
Well, probably won't be a named person for those roles.
Yeah.
But I'll give you one example.
Character.
You're a Lithuanian Jew in 1939, and when you get on set, you get more of the story from the director. The Nazis are coming. All the embassies, they're empty, except one. There's one consul who's left in town. The Japanese ambassador is still there. Why the Japanese have an ambassador to Lithuania, I do not know, but he's still there. These are all historically true, situations. And at that point, Japan is associated with Germany, but it's not that formal yet in 39. And it's still possible to get a visa from him that'll allow your family to escape through Russia to Japan. This they're all explaining to us. So you're here to get a visa to save your family's life. And action. And I'm like, wait, one question. Give me a little more time to prepare. I said, "What language are we speaking?" "Oh, that's a good question." "Yeah, because he's Japanese. I mean, we probably speak Yiddish. He's not going to understand Yiddish. And we certainly don't know Japanese." And we talk about it for a minute and conclude it's probably either German or Russian. Well, it's not like we know German or Russian, and we're not going to talk in accents. But what we did conclude was none of us are speaking our native language. And this must have been what really happened, too. So with the simplest vocabulary possible, save your family's life. Right? It's good when you have an obstacle like that, the pressure is higher. And all I can tell you is, by the end of that scene, I was wet with tears. Because I could buy the circumstance and invest emotionally, right? So, it's like...
How many characters were you interacting with, actually?
There were 2 other...
2 others?
Jews and the ambassador.
Yeah.
And it was set up, to be his office. And, you do a little mental time travel, and there you are. The stakes could not be clearer.
Yeah.
Get him to agree. And for him to agree, he might be almost certainly risking his own career.
Yeah.
Possibly his life.
Yeah.
So there's the stakes. All right? And from that, came from some good performances. Now, I can tell you, the mystery show did not use any takes in which I was actually crying, although they could have. The ambassador was so interesting, most of the shots are about him. But, still, you got to play the scene, even though I don't even think they used the audio on that one. But, the scene's got to appear to be like you are seeing history, like as it actually is happening. So, you got to find some way to get where you need to be and live that moment, believably. So that's my little story about that.
That is interesting, and I just had no idea that things like that would, that's how it works, but
yeah, because if you fake it,
yeah.
People can tell.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then they don't hire you back. Mm-hmm. They got to have footage they can use.
I watched a lot of TV over the years, and when my daughter was growing up, watched a lot of Disney. They had a lot of situational stories on there, and
yeah.
I thought some of them were quite interesting, just the character balance they had. They would try to entertain the kids and the adults too, it seemed.
Right. Yeah, to make it all family. Yeah, and actually these shows are totally like G rated. You
Yeah,
know, anybody
yeah.
can watch those.
Yeah.
Although the other kind of work to get on Z-list, you know, TV work, you know, there's the history shows and then there's the mystery shows.
Mystery shows.
You know, they're mostly on ID, Investigation Discovery.
Okay.
And it's kind of all crime all the time.
Yeah. And that's really popular with a lot of people.
Yeah, I can't explain it, but yeah, apparently.
When I travel around and go to folks' homes, it seems like everybody's watching that these days. Yeah.
Are they? Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's probably you know, a scary trend, but it does provide, you know, work for actors in the struggling class. And I thought originally it'd be kind of cool to get cast as, you know, a mob guy or something. They don't seem to see that in me. I've been father of the murderer, brother of the victim. I'm actually going to be on Mansions and Murders on the 22nd. I'm the doctor who runs out when the guy gets blown up, and I have to administer CPR. So, you know.
Well, that's probably good that you don't get selected to be the mob guy, you know.
Yeah,
And
I've auditioned for those, but
you're not
they don't
sinister
see the
enough.
killer
Yeah,
thing in me. You
yeah,
know?
you're just not a mean person.
I
yeah.
guess. I should be able to find that somehow, but the truth is my wife handles any, like, you know, needs to kill bugs or, you know, I'm really, yeah, I'm not that guy. So that's all right. There's plenty of, you know, family members of the victims to be played.
Is it hard for folks to go from from television work to movie work?
Well, there's kind of two tiers in movie work, at least two tiers. But from my, you know, perspective, there's independent work, and then there's, you know, kind of studio stuff. So the studio work is generally union, and that's the big divide with actors:
Oh, yeah.
union or non-union.
Yeah.
I'm still non-union. And to get union jobs, you generally need an agent. To get an agent, I don't know, it's one of those catch-22 things.
Yeah.
You know, you need quite a lot of work, but, you know, somehow or another you got to break through. So tough to get that. People get extra work,
Yeah.
you know, working background, they call it now.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas independent films, there's more and more of it around. Cost of production seems to be lower and lower. More people get to fulfill their creative ambitions.
Yeah.
You know, and they enter them in festivals and so on. And that kind of work has gotten in a similar way to the kind of TV work that I've been able to get. It's through websites like Actors Access and NY Castings. Here in Texas, it's Short Film Texas. You know, basically, if you have a reel, if you have good headshots, and you have a resume, you can submit. And then you can audition and, you know, cross your fingers.
That's right.
You know, and as long as you have a means of support, you know, other than what you make
Yeah,
from this stuff,
yeah.
then you can do it.
Yeah.
Because you know, it's not. It's really quite a remote fantasy. You know, the numbers of people who can really totally make their living.
Yeah.
You know, people who I'm aware of in Texas who work all the time. You know, who I'm like green with envy over because they're constantly doing a commercial or a film. You know, they've generally got something else going on.
Yeah. To finance all of that activity, yeah.
Yeah, working real estate, or you know,
Yeah.
or some kind of office job that's that understands the needs of someone with this particular affliction.
Yeah.
You know, but it's, you know, it's like almost like a lifestyle choice. Like, this is what I want to be doing with my life. I'm going to do it as a matter of pride. I mean, I think I'm not the only one who, like, you know, I pretty much only want to work if paid, but it's not necessarily a lot. It's just, you know, you want to be working at a certain level of proficiency with others who are at that level. But yeah, you know, I'm glad I'm not trying to make a living at it, you know, truly.
It would be a lot of pressure, yeah, to raise a family and all that with that, you know, kind of work, yeah.
Pretty much impossible, I would say. You know, unless you're like one of the like 1,000th%, you know.
Yeah. Paul, I appreciate your time very much, and I appreciate you sharing all this information with the viewers. And thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate it, and I hope you have a great day.